Hello, my beautiful cuddlebugs. Welcome to Ramblings of a Book Dragon, where we dive into the warmth of good books and unravel stories that feel like a literary hug. I'm Allie, your host, and I'm thrilled to embark on another cozy adventure with you. So grab a cup of your favorite beverage, snuggle into your cozy reading nook, and let's begin. But before we do, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe so that you won't miss a single episode. I really value your feedback and book recommendations. Now let's begin today's episode. Today I am reviewing Hot Hex Boyfriend, which is about 29-year-old Delia Merriweather, whose family has always believed that they are witches. And the thing is that when Delia was young, she believed that she was a witch as well. But then as she grew up, she was kind of realizing, like, this is all kind of nuts. Like, this is all kind of crazy. And this is all in Texas. And there are some things that I thought were really great about the book. It's basically like just the perfect cozy rom-com type story, perfect fall vibes. It's just everything that you could have possibly wanted. And her family is just very quirky and cute, and it's all women because because the family believes that they were cursed to keep their magic from them from long ago. Someone just put a curse on their family. They don't know the details of it or anything like that. And they also believe that there's another curse where any man who falls in love with the Merriweather woman dies. So there's really only Merriweather woman. And Delia, she is the only child of the family. So they all just love her, which is just so nice and sweet. And just, we love female support, because like she's gone through all of these different jobs, and like she went to her associate school for interior design, and now she's becoming an interior decorator, and it's just become this whole thing. And Delia was born with this mark on her butt, and because of this mark, they believe that she is the Blue Witch, and the Blue Witch is supposed to be the one to break the curse on the family. And they had found this note saying that, with this note for this book, and they found this book, and it's this book called Clavis Hexicus, and they brought it home because they went to the library and they found it, and they're like, we have no recollection of what this book is. Like, there's nothing going on here. And so they basically found out that there were these things that they have to do in order to break the curse. And it's all about calling for ingredients that are a lot more heinous than eye of newt. So the Blue Moon non-baby vegetable soup, like it calls for an innocent, and just all sorts of other just weird things that are going on. And it's just, they basically just turned it into non-baby soup because they believe that it called for a baby. And the ritual, but it can only be brewed during the blue moon. So like Delia, now that she's an adult, she's kind of like, this is all just so stupid. Like, I mean, like she doesn't believe that there's anything to do with witches. Like, she just believes this is all superstition, and the little town is all kind of just like, this family is weird, which is just like, okay, it's just all this kind of weirdness. And then the male love interest is Max Halifax, and he moved in after his uncle died. And from the beginning of the book, we learn that he's an asshole, and they learned that he's an asshole when they went to bring him an apple pie as part of condolences for his uncle's death. And he didn't even let them inside. And we learned that the reason why is because his uncle is a witch, and he had all these different things in the house that are magical. And so Max, because of what he does, he is in charge. He figures out what's going on, because like his family has head magic, like it's, and that was part of what was a little bit confusing with this book. Like, it was all about, like, it just all became this whole mind, head. And then we learned that her family is core, which is heart. And I don't know, just a little nauseating, if you catch my drift, but that's beside the point. So Max is from this really old, powerful witch family, and he was sent to prevent Delia from breaking the curse on her 30th birthday. And they just they make their soup. Everything is going according to plan. They have their fun. Nothing is really going on there. And like nothing's really going on. And he's just supposed to be there to make sure that her 30th birthday passes without her or her family breaking the curse. And it's just, but he is grumpy. He's very weird. But he actually agrees for Delia's mom, because her mom is a real estate agent, to sell the house. And Delia's like, oh, this is perfect, because I set up houses to get them ready to sell. Like, that is part of what she does as an interior designer. And so she's able to talk Max into agreeing to have her stage the house. And during this process of talking to him about it, and she's able to figure all this stuff out, they start to develop feelings for each other, aka they want to bump butts, as certain people like to say. But there's things that are kind of just like, as we kind of figure things out later on in the book, it's kind of just a little weird. But what I do appreciate about this book is that, yes, there's magic and there are some funky things going on. It's not like Delia or any of them are the lone. Like, Delia is the one to break the curse, yes. But when she does, which happens by accident on her 30th birthday, because she invites Max, and his brother also comes by to visit Luke. And she invites them to her house, because she lives with her grandmother and aunt, to their house for a party. And then way back a while ago, she had hurt her back. So they go back over to Max's house to have a secondary party, and they wind up getting into the hot tub. And somehow or another, with all the stuff that's going on, because her best friend Amy gifted her a puppy. And now part of what was all the stuff that's going on is like, we needed to have an innocent and the blood of true love, and we need to agitate the spirits. And because she's the blue witch, she has fae connections. And that's something that I don't quite understand. One of the things I didn't quite understand with this is, what does this have to do with the fairies? But what do I know? I know nothing, of course. But yeah, it's just, but because of all of this, like they're kind of asking me throughout the entire book is, how did we, because she winds up breaking the curse. And at first Max is kind of figuring, okay, everything's fine. It became midnight. Nothing happened, because she needed these 3 ingredients. She needed an innocent. She needed it to be in a hot water. That's why it's called soup. And so they assumed that it was like a baby, and agitating the spirits as part of their to-do on the night of a blue moon. They would try to piss off the spirit. I like her family. Like, I don't. And what I appreciated with the audiobook, it was two voice actors for the audiobook. What I appreciated about the audiobook is that there was a little bit of a Southern twang. But you know how with some voice actors, there's like that drawl Southern twang? It wasn't like, it didn't grate on me like it does in some situations. Like, it was just a very light Southern lilt, which was quite bearable for me, because I don't like the Southern twang. I'm so sorry. And maybe it's because of some of the other podcasts that I've been listening to as well, where sometimes you do get a little bit more of that Southern drawl. But and I think I just did that a little bit myself. But yeah, but it just wasn't too grating for me, and I was able to get through it. And it was actually like, there were still things that were kind of just making me a little twitchy, but mainly it was because like the country line. There was country line dancing and things like that. And it's kind of just like, okay, and going to the honky tonk and things like that. And it's like, okay, you do you, author, with putting that stuff in, but it makes sense. They're in Texas and everything. So there are things that they're needing to do. But I have questions, because but it just seems like there's just more questions for me than were answered. And it was kind of just like, this is the way of it, because there's where Max and his family live in California, which is where all of the head people live, and this is where Morgaine, the head of the coven, lives. And we learn, and this is what I appreciate, is the fact that this is said from two different perspectives. So we're kind of learning a little bit more about what it means to be a witch, and we learn that there are the hedge witches, even though anyone who's not a hedge witch doesn't want to be called this, because there's them, and then it seems like everyone else was kind of relegated to this town in the smack dab in the middle of Texas. It's like, so are there other covens? That was something that was a little confusing to me. It's like, is this the only place where magic is? Because they were talking about ley lines, and like we hear that all the time with the ley lines and this tree. So it's like, okay, this is where they need to be, but like, and they had all these bullshit responses, which we learn are truly bullshit later on, with the big twist at the end, which I appreciated, was actually a pretty good sounding twist. But it was like they were saying that basically anyone who's not part of the head, they had to reduce the magic for them, because otherwise there would be witch hunts, and otherwise anyone who's not part of this one area, this one community, they can't use, they need to have a reduction in their magic. And we learn why later on, but that's beside the point. So right now we're getting to the point, and we're getting to the point where they're realizing, oh, we actually do have magic. And this is after her 30th birthday, and they're realizing, oh, wait, we actually have magic. And that's what I was getting to before I got sidetracked into the sidetracked. And I appreciated the fact that, yes, Delia is the one who is breaking the curse, but when she broke the curse for the family, it became everyone had to learn magic. Everyone had to learn how to control their magic. And so Max and his brother Luke showed up at random, and he kind of just stayed and was kind of helping him a little bit. And the original plan was to keep them from even getting their magic back, because it turned out that her family had actually because her family is they're core witches, so their magic has to do with the heart. So they believe that they use their heart, they evil devil women. It's just like, really, especially since this was like back in the 1600s, like really, like they and I could kind of see the twist coming a mile away there with that, like, oh, she put a spell on him and she forced him to fall in love with her. Like, really? That's the story that we're going with, and we've been okay with for forever. And so because of that, his family cursed hers to take away their magic. So that's why he was sent, because he is a descendant of that family. And now that they have the magic back, Morgaine, the leader of the coven, called him and said, hey, you need to recurse them. And basically the way to recurse them is just very not cool. It's gross. And he's like, they're nothing like the witches from before. And she's like, I don't care. You need to take care of this now. And she winds up sending his parents. And at first his parents are like just real shitheads, because it really reminded me of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I don't know if you saw the show, but it's like anyone that was from the other realm, what even was it called? It was like the mortal realm and the magical realm, whatever it was called. But anyone that was from there that didn't really spend much time in the mortal realm was really awkward, and they didn't know how to be around humans. And it was like, so why can't, and that was one of my questions, is so why can't anyone else be in that same area as everyone who's part of this big to-do family? Like, why couldn't, like, that didn't make sense to me. Like, what's wrong with having them all in this one community? Like, I guess it has to do with this tree and these ley lines and this power, blah, blah, blah. But it's just like, it was something that's like, why can't they have an opportunity to live there for I don't know. See, these are my questions with all this. And of course, Delia and Max, they're falling in love, and Delia is freaking out because she's worried that, especially once they actually do have sex together, and he's like, I think I'm falling in love with you. I was worried. And so bravo, props to the author, because she tricked me. I was convinced I was going to be pissed off. Like, I was annoyed, but it wasn't for the reason that I thought I was going to be annoyed, because he was thinking to himself, and being an idiot male, that he was going to keep the fact that his family was the one that cursed hers. Like, he was going to say it, but then he was worried that they were going to be angry, so he kept it to himself. I thought that was going to come up. There was going to be a miscommunication. They were going to be angry. I thought that was going to really piss me off, because I hate miscommunication scenes. Turns out, after they had sex, there was a little bit of a weird thing, because Max's mom was like, oh, you're going to go bump butts with Delia? Okay, you need to protect yourself because she's a core witch, so you need to have this whole protection charm thing. And so she found it and read it, but she didn't really get upset about it, which is like, okay, that's cool. But then he said, like, I think I'm starting to fall in love with you. Like, he didn't really say I'm falling in love with you, but it's like, I really like you a lot. And so she was freaking out, because she's learned, like, okay, I really do have magic. So if magic is real, that must mean the curse is real. So if the curse is real, that means if you fall in love with me, you're going to die. So she's freaking out, which makes sense given everything. But the thing is that it's like, there was still a bit of a miscommunication, because like, she kicks him out, and at first he was trying to like kind of get her to stay with him a little bit longer, but then she kicked him out. And so like, that kind of gave me a little bit of the ick, because he was trying to pull her in and she was like, no, get out. And that kind of gave me a bit of an ick. It was like, Max, just back off, dude. And then we find out, like, oh, because she broke the curse, that must mean that the curse on the family, that prevents them from finding their love, that must be broken too. It's like, okay, that makes sense. But the other thing that confused me is that later on, we find out that Morgaine is actually a demon. And the whole reason why the family was cursed wasn't because of the core magic, the heart magic bullshit thing that they were convincing themselves of for years. It was actually because Morgaine's ancestor, something that still was a little bit confusing to me actually with all of that, because it turned out that they had basically used, because they had an elf, not an elf, an imp. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, imp. And the imp took control of the man, and the man like was able to do that. And so Morgaine's ancestor was able to basically curse the family that way and steal the magic, so that this would pass down from generation to generation. So because Delia broke the curse, that kept Morgaine from being able to keep control of the magic. So that basically was why that was all going on. And the reason why they found out all that stuff is because Max's dad is like basically a librarian, essentially a librarian. And they were looking into figuring out what was going on, what was happening, because his uncle was really good at finding shit. And they found these books, and they found out that core magic isn't really, it's not about manipulating people for the sake of it. Like, it's about helping people figure out what they want. Like, it's helping people find their heart's desires. So she never actually put a curse on him. It's like, that makes sense. But my question with all that is, and I think it probably may have been a good twist as well, because if he found these books, if he found all this stuff, why didn't he try to tell anyone? Like, he found this stuff, he found this information, and I guess maybe he realized like he couldn't really tell Morgaine. Like, obviously he couldn't tell Morgaine because she's a demon, but like, it just seemed like he kind of just hoarded stuff and was kind of just hoping for the best, that people would figure it out, and they kind of and they figured it out, but it was because of happenstance of other things going on. And it was kind of just like, wouldn't it have made a little bit more sense maybe if Morgaine had killed him, found out that he found out and killed him because of that, but instead he just died peacefully? Like, I don't know. I'm not a writer. As much as I do some writing type things, I'm not a writer. But it just seemed kind of like I feel like there could have been a bit more to what was going on with the uncle that we could have explored a bit more, but it kind of just was like, oh, he died and he found all this stuff. It was very convenient that he found all this stuff. And then, of course, when they found it, they were able to come all together as one. La, 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 la. But luckily, at least with the love story bit, she found out the truth that his family cursed hers, but they really were kind of just like, okay. And it kind of made sense with the okay, because like they were kind of just like going through the whole, we just learned we're witches thing. We're kind of still learning to control our powers thing. So I thought that was all really nice. Like it was just very cute with the whole we're all learning our magic. And it was sweet that they all came together to send Morgaine to hell and everything. But there was a lot that I really liked about the book, and I would read it again in the fall, and I might even read it again more into the spooky season, because I don't remember when it was set, like what months it was set, but it felt more fall vibes, even if it wasn't necessarily set in the fall. But yeah, I think that is very excessively rambly. But and of course, the only time that they only bump butts one time is at the end. And I had a little bit of a chortle at one thing. Like, it was kind of hot, but it was kind of just like, okay, obviously she's listening to Hosier, the author, because he said, take me to church. It's like, do they have religion with this? Because he was talking about like, oh, she's my religion. And so he said, Delia, take me to church. It's like, okay, Miss Thing, obviously we know who you like to listen to. But the narrator did a good job with that whole ragged voice thing with it. But yeah, sometimes it's kind of hard to take the smut seriously, especially when it's an audiobook and it's kind of just like, oh, Lord, I wonder how many times they have to go through some of these things. Like, I think maybe I needed to be in a better headspace to listen to it. Like, it was kind of just like, okay, I like that. I like the way he said it. But knowing where it came from. I mean, it's a good song. It's a really good song. But it kind of just also made me laugh at all. It's like, would warlocks really even have a religion? Like, I know that's not the point of the song, but like, would they even have that? But okay, whatever. What do I know? But I think that is that for right now, because it was very cute. It was very sweet. And there was definitely a lot that was going on in the book. We had it all. And I think I gave it about a 4 out of 5. And I will be coming back very, very soon for my next cozy read. I know we're technically, not that we're no longer in October, we're outside of spooky season, but we're still in cozy season for at least another, another week, 2 weeks. I would say maybe even 3 weeks technically, because it would only really be into the beginning of December. But I'm saying it's cozy season still because, I mean, it's not even the end of November yet. So it's still cozy season. But I still have a couple more books that I'm reading that are technically cozy. And one I probably should have read more actually in October, because it was set in October. But that's beside the point, because it is so cozy. And I love with this book just the low stakesness of it. Like, it was more just about family and togetherness and finding love and just letting go and finding yourself. Like, she was worried that she was 29 turning 30, and she was worried that she wasn't going to find her career. She was worried that she wasn't going to find a man. I mean, that was kind of one of the lower things on her plate. But like, it was all about friendship and love. And just, I loved how supportive her family was and how they had her back. And they would have ripped Max limb from limb if he hurt her. And that just warms my heart that they were just so sweet. And the fact that they were willing to take Max in, and even though his family was kind of just awkward and weird, they're trying, especially near the end of the book, they were like, we're gonna have family dinner, and Max is like, we're gonna have breakfast. Like, what are you guys talking about? What's happening here? But both he and Luke were kind of really confused about that. So I'd be interested to see more from this author, and I wonder if she's going to do anything for Luke or her best friend Amy now that we've learned the truth of the matter. Like, it is a little eye-rolling in some ways, but I thought it was cute, and I would definitely read it again. But I will catch you next time. And again, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will catch you next time, my beautiful cuddlebugs. Stay warm and cozy. Goodbye.